Your pre-construction soft costs, this is exactly the same as everything else that we've been doing, but we just have to allocate these costs. We have to make sure that we selected the correct stages for each one of these costs. And if you haven't actually done the validation feasibility course, I would recommend that you do that. And we discuss about the indirect soft costs and the direct soft costs and so on, and the kind of costs that you need to allow for at each stage. Now, I'm not going into a lot of detail to explain what each one of these are and why do I have to allow for them and so on, because the aim of this application is to actually make you aware of what these costs are, and how to use this application so you can do your own feasibility. So that's why this is the advanced level. So this is the same thing. You select the stage, you select the cost codes, you put in the amount, you select whether or not it has GST. The only different thing in this over here is that each one of these at the bottom of that section or bottom of that subheading, there is a section for contingency. Now, if there's a contingency allowed for stat fees, um, or whether or not there's a contingency allowed for holding costs and so on, by default, these cells here with blue background and blue, they are automatically linked to your dashboard. So in here, when you say allow contingency cost heads 5%, or if I make that, let's say 3%, you'll see that all of them automatically get updated in under all cost heads. Now, if you wanted to, while you're doing your feasibility, you wanted to allow a little bit extra in some cost heads and a little bit less in others, make sure you do that here. So you can actually come in and say, look, for stat fees, for contributions, I've got no idea what it's going to be. I've allowed 5%, but I'm going to allow 10% contingency here. You can do that, but remember that once you override them, that link actually breaks from the dashboard. So you can allow that, and that's no problem. Also, in your council contributions, I've got a percentage, and this percentage is based on the land value, because usually the council contributions are calculated based on the land value. So in your council contributions, if you wanted to change that percentage to massage this number, you can do that. But if you ever wanted to come in and override it, by all means do that, because even though it's not in blue, just for this section here, if you have a calculator somewhere that your council's provided and you do your calculation, you want to come in and override, you can. Otherwise, you can play around with this percentage based on the and unless you find the right number, you can keep playing with it so that it changes the number so that you've got that. But by all means, you can actually come in and change that. And in fact, I'll get your add-on to have a blue background here so that that can be overridden and you can actually change these details. So these are the only two sections that I want you to be careful of in this, because the bottom line of each section is contingency that is controlled from your dashboard. If you wanted to change them, you can. If you wanted to override them individually, you can. And you can come into your forecast method. I'll jump over to the international version, because that's exactly the same here, without the extra columns for GST. And you can change the allocation and the forecast method. You can select your S-curve. You can put them whatever you want to put them. You can select the steepness of your S-curve over here and go from there. And that's pretty much it. And you have to come in, allocate each of these costs, fill them out. The only details, whatever costs you want to allow for them, all these costs get allocated and they will then get totaled into. Now, these are not your construction costs, and I'll explain the construction costs in the next section.